The creation of these builds have garnered hundreds of millions of YouTube viewers between them, and today I'm looking at them for round review, because usually I look at my subscribers' long-term survival worlds, but I'm going to switch that up by experiencing some of the internet's most viewed ones instead, because every time you load up Minecraft, it will remind you can buy things to play instead of building them yourselves, which is actually a godsend for any YouTube viewer who has followed a video series and just wants to enjoy that world for themselves. But how good are these survival worlds? Let's check that out and explore today by ranking each of the worlds we'll see on these three quality factors. The first is simple quality of build, or what I'm going to call impressiveness. The second is the cohesion of the world, how well things actually tie together, how much it feels like a world and not a collection of YouTube projects. And the third is going to be inspiration. How much do you look at these worlds and then say, yeah, I would like to build something like that in my own? Because after all, if there's a price tag attached, you'd better get some value from it. And so I'm going to be looking at YouTuber worlds, starting with one that recently became quite viral because it got deleted, or maybe not. This is SB737's Hardcore World, which interestingly you can see exists on the marketplace 3 separate times at 3 separate price points by 3 separate marketplace teams. You don't get one if you buy all of them, but that's fine. Let's buy the most recent version and see what it has inside. So SB737 is a Sonic YouTuber who turned to Minecraft and got particular fame with the 100 days trend in Hardcore, but he has one world which has outlasted all of the rest, this 10,000 day Hardcore World. Now what's interesting is there was a pledge to delete the world, or to die in it, deliberately after 10,000 days, but interestingly, he decided not to. That has been recently revealed, but this is meant to be a world that you can live on, but he can't. Although he's actually in the world with me right now. Oh, wow. So now it's over to you. Let's go and see what's happening. We've got 3 choices: Hardcore, Creative, or Scavenger Hunt. I'm going to go look around it in Creative, I think, just to be sure about what we're going to do here. Ooh. Well, this is an incredibly cool spawn, and it does have to be said that this is a world which isn't just a straight download of his survival world, but instead there are warp penguins. What does that mean? What is a warp penguin? Oh, he's here to tell me I can warp around things, which is actually very handy. It means I can look around this realm, or rather this world that I've downloaded, and we can actually see different parts of it that he thinks are most notable. So let's start with the huge stone house. Oh, we have to go to the penguin to warp? That's a confusing system, but let's go to the huge stone house. As you can see, it doesn't look that big in person until you see it in the background. Oh my god. So this is literally the sort of thing I make jokes about, of like, don't build this in survival. You really don't want to do this in survival, but if this is to be believed, he's done precisely that. Oh my god, it's massive. Wow, honestly, I have some concerns about how the house is decorated, but how it's done in this massive scale is really, really, really impressive. And it's kind of cool to see, actually, especially the fact that you have to, like, actually jump between each of these levels to even get in. Super, super, super crazy. What the heck have I just seen, though? I cannot imagine how long this would take. I see how you get to 10,000 days when your projects look like this. So what is next in this world, Mr. Penguin? An epic castle? Don't mind if I do. Okay, here we are at what is clearly a classic Minecraft YouTuber starter house. I imagine that he moved on to something a bit more refined and bigger after his first 20 days. But for now, this is a pretty decent starter house, right? I mean, it's got turrets and castles, and it's like 100 by 100. I'm sure this took basically no time to build, especially with the gold literally sitting out front of it. Oh, there's like custom textures for like, what even is this? I don't even know what that is, but it's magically floating there anyway. So this is a slightly modified world. I don't know if the original is or not, but I do know it's a very interesting decision to include. Anyway, it's also got one of these thrones right in front, which is absolutely here so you can sit on it and say, YouTuber-y things in your intro. Like, what's up, guys? I'm going to do some crazy stuff, and make sure you like and subscribe if you like crazy stuff. But yeah, I think this is a really nutty thing to see, especially as we get the true scale of it, looking at it in third person. This is the sort of build that takes you not, 20, 50, 100 days to make, but you've got to spend forever slowly making this bigger and bigger and bigger and better. However, I'm not going to say it just yet. It's weird to have such a mega build that just immediately cuts to a straight, unmodified spruce taiga biome. Am I crazy for saying that? That just to go from nothing into this is actually kind of odd. I get the impression You know, I like SB quite a lot. He's someone I consider to be a console friend, and I hope he doesn't take this the wrong way if he sees it. But it really does feel like this was made for the sake of one beautiful thumbnail. You know, let's do my thumbnail right now. Oh yeah, look at that. That's 1 million views right there. But then there's a bit of a problem of like, how does it really connect to the rest of the world? And the answer seems to be that it doesn't. Speaking of things that don't connect, I love this. Even this literally ties into nothing, but I'm not going to detract any points from this because I think it's really cool when something is important to you, as your branding might be if you're a YouTuber who presumably, you know, I assume for any full-time YouTuber, it's at least a partial dream to be doing what you're doing. So to have a giant version of that in your world, awesome. To have that giant version be... What is the scale of this thing? Let me turn on coordinates and find out. Okay, so it goes from Y73 at the base here, all the way up through this giant penguin, which looks like it was painstakingly built. And, you know, even when you use the programs that turn a 2D image into, you know, pixels, to do that then in survival, like I'm fairly sure he did, that is just ridiculous. To get these quantities of resources and place them as perfectly as that would be such a time ache. But yeah, it goes from 72 all the way up to 272. It's 200 by 200. That means it's only 40,000 blocks to be fair, but to place 40,000 blocks like that is just ridiculous. It comes right up against this miniature Earth that was built on top of it, and I've got to say, it's kind of cool to see the miniature Earth. Anyway, we've got other builds from this warp that we're meant to go and see, so let's see what updated structures look like. In fact, I think I might have just arrived at this beautiful emerald bay. Oh, this is where he keeps his villagers. I like the idea of making a giant emerald house for them. Oh, yeah. So emeralds and prismarine should go really well together, but honestly, to me, this is a giant flex house that doesn't actually work that well as an interior. I mean, if I'm looking around it, I'm seeing like a bunch of empty space. I'm seeing like, honestly, I'm seeing a structure that probably would have been better off being like half the scale that it is, which is weird to say, because a lot of builds benefit from the giant scale. I love, for example, this little snow golem that has its arms waving happily in the air. I love whatever this is, this like purple crystal. I love kind of conceptual sci-fi builds in that way, but this build hits this like uncanny valley where either it's meant to be ridiculously big and the scale is meant to be the impressive bit, or it's meant to be functional, and it doesn't quite fit either. But one of the things I'm excited to see now is updated structures, which I just saw out of the corner of my eye, because I have always thought, this is one of my favorite things to do, and so to see another YouTuber who thinks the same way, that's awesome. So first of all, we've got the Diamond Desert Temple, with a netherite block in the middle. Oh, it's just that. Super, super, super fun. I really have to say I like that one. Are these netherite blocks too? No, they're black concrete. This is a really cool build, and it's a great way to flex your diamonds on people, which I don't believe you can farm, so that's a ridiculous mining project that must have been done there. Then we've got this. It's a red nether brick fortress that also has this like glass underneath it. Again, very, very nice if you ask me. I think that's a nice little feature. Then we've got... Ooh, warp penguin detected. Then we've got this. It's a... oh, it's a deep, dark ancient city-style pillager outpost. Then we've got a Nether-style jungle temple, a gold igloo, and a mangrove swamp house, which actually is the nicest idea of all of these, I think. Super, super fun. I don't know what the possible reason behind this one was, but I like it nonetheless. Finally, as far as the warps that we're meant to see, this is the God Apple Factory. And I mean, how does that even work? You can't craft them, so... Oh, it's where you flex all the enchanted golden apples that you do have. Okay, this is silly, but... Oh, and there's just some golden apples on the floor. I'm quite confused by these random additions, by the way. They can't be destroyed. They just exist on the ground. I'm going to go and watch one of his videos to see if they're in the videos themselves or not. This is a really interesting definition of farm. There's a bunch of weird characters placed in books, placed in a shulker box. Then he's artificially limiting the memory of Minecraft, reloading the chunk, and then going down to where the enchanted golden apples are. And then that way, every time he opens the chest, he'll find enchanted golden apples, which he can farm. So apparently you can farm enchanted golden apples on the Java edition, if you're willing to really, really push things. But anyway, I'm not here to find out how the farm worked. I think that's interesting. But as you can see right here, it looks like for some reason... Wait, I think this is the shot I'm just in. Wait, no, look at that. What the heck's happening there? There's flowing enchanted golden apples like crazy. But you can see that is the area I'm in right now. All of the enchanted golden apples are not flowing, probably because it's the Bedrock version of the game. I just now realized that it was recorded on Java. But so they decided to just add these golden apples to the ground instead. Wouldn't it have made more sense to make a redstone machine that would have spat out the enchanted golden apples? Or, you know, commands or something? This just feels weird. Also, I should be able to place blocks in them, so I can make them go away. But yeah, these are not here in the original. The world gives you the impression that there are mods used, but, you know, even though there's an enchanted golden apple farm, which is ridiculous, it isn't a mod-based one. It's a glitch, I guess, if we're using it that way. So there's also a Bedrock factory, which I assume uses a similar bug over here. But yeah, this is actually a really cool looking building. Even if you ignore the function, which presumably doesn't exist on Bedrock, this is just a cool looking building. Look at the factory. Isn't it nice? I think the answer is yes. So yeah, looking around the rest of the world, there's a bunch of other builds that weren't mentioned as one of the 5 warp stations, but it's still really cool and honestly maybe even more inspiring than any of these. I don't need these warps when I can see honey. Oh, honey that is changing. Oh, is that a Minecraft bug? I don't need those things when I can see these houses. Look, it looks like a modern style apartment in the feel of like a medieval house. You've got his threat to Olaf if he doesn't deliver on a second combat update over here. You've got the proof that I didn't just make up that thing about him being a Sonic YouTuber. I don't know why they're all robots, but that's kind of cool. You've got the little mini Dubai over here with Rainbow Road coming out of it. And you've got the result of trying to build a mangrove forest, but just not quite being sure what blocks a tree is made out of. You've got the winner of the hare and the tortoise race. And then you've got the SB737 skin sitting on a mountain of gold. I recognize it from one of the other world download thumbnails, but this is a really cool way to cap out the world. It's a really fun collection of things with a big milestone of 10,000 days played that is really, really fun to see right here. And yeah, I think this is an absolute delight to peek at so many ways. But now comes the question, how is the world going to be rated? This world was an absolute delight to spend time in, and I think that if I'm going to be honest, rating the quality of builds, we have to give it a 9, because if you look at the castle, you'll see what I mean, but that's probably the more normie build. The one that really impressed me was the giant spruce house. Seriously, I think that looking at this is just the real testament to how big some projects can go, and I think that the scale of some of these is absolutely, undoubtedly, very, very high. However, the cohesiveness is something I'm going to have to rank down. If we give quality a 9, I think we have to give cohesion a 5, and that might be too generous because look around at some of the great builds like this diamond temple, and sure, there's a pathway connecting it to other structures, but then it just connects randomly into a wall that's been carved out of. It looks a bit ugly at best, and it just feels disjointed at worst. To play in a world for 10,000 days, but not have a common sense beside, like a common theme, a common tying factor besides I wanted to make some YouTube thumbnails, is something that feels a bit weird, but maybe that's just me seeing it from my perspective, because ultimately I love the inspiration you can get from looking around this. Whether you're looking at the giant builds I mentioned, or the collection of every armor trim, or I found this big collection of mob statues, there's so much inspiration, big and small, that you can take from this world, and that's what I think is good about worlds like this. Looking at someone else's world should make you go, oh yeah, I could probably do this. If someone else has done this, sure, in their full-time job, but if someone else has done this, then I could probably do it too, and I love that this world delivers on it, so that's going to have to be a 9 for the inspiration. And so as far as value goes, I think that at 1170 mine coins, this feels like a bit of a hard sell, but at 660 in the most recent version, it feels like a decent buy. But, you know, it's not the cheapest thing you can buy today. That honor goes to Alex Danube. So Alex Danube is a channel started by log.zip, a big Minecraft YouTuber, who actually used to do RuneScape videos, if you'll believe it. What's interesting, though, is that log.zip actually has a side channel, the MCPE, with the gimmick being that there's someone called Alex in there. They don't talk, but they have their own survival world, and so let's buy it now, I guess. So basically, this is a log.zip world under a separate personality, which sounds crazy, but he also has Crafty. It's a successful media empire, and I'm happy for him for it. But what I do have to say is this is Tyler, and this is his shulker box. I'm guessing this is like my starting chest. Already, I'm not that impressed by it, but at just 310 mine coins, I guess I don't need to be impressed, just not horrified. So here you can see they've got chests organized. I mean, this one's specifically not organized. Can you have an unorganized chest if you label it like that? Anyway, the important thing here is we're going to see what this world has to offer for me right after we go to sleep, because for some reason it's nighttime. Oh, I'm sleeping in the middle of my head. Oh, that means it's an old Minecraft version. Oh, this is how old the world is. There's only 6 types of woods. There's no pale oak. There's no cherry, so pre 1.21. And I don't even see the nether types. So this might be pre-nether update. Yeah, look, you can see honey blocks, but you can't see any of the new nether ones. Wow, this is a time capsule into 1.15, because something you might not know is that Minecraft will actually let you emulate older versions of the game in Bedrock, but only for marketplace content. It's a really, really weird concept if you ask me, but that means that any feature that wasn't there for 1.15 won't be accessible in this world. So if we go to the Nether, it'll be exclusively old biomes. I assume, actually. How about we go there and find out? So it looks like the Nether portal is in this house here. But let's look around the rest of the village and find out what they have there first. Okay, it looks like one of my Realm Experiment series videos at spawn here. Except that this is a survival world from a survival series. There's a cake staircase, which is actually kind of cool, that leads you up to a bunch of sunflowers. This is actually impressive to have built this in survival. I genuinely am amazed that you could do that, because this is the sort of thing that comes when you start spamming random blocks in creative. To spam random blocks in survival like this genuinely is impressive in its own way. Why are there 7 beds in this house? Why is there a sign that says Tamborn Wise and then a bunch of flowers? This makes no sense at all. Why is this world available for download? What value am I meant to get from looking around this? It's a village, but slightly griefed. I mean, this house this house should be far longer based on what I've seen from it. But yeah, we are in an absolute mess of a world. But are there redeeming qualities to it? I guess this is also something of value. No, this world is a mess. So the only substantial builds that actually exist in this world are this house, which is made from wood, red sandstone, and cobblestone. It would be almost charming if it used just a bit more glass, if you ask me, but that might be personal preference. And then there is this big water slide behind it. And then there's what I have to assume is a mob grinder. But we'll go in and we'll go check in what's happening there. Look out. Oh, it's a lookout. It's so you can look around and see what's happening. It's not a warning. It is... Oh, it's a... I mean, this is the Minecraft world. This costs $2 US. And I don't know what... I don't know what positive things I can say at this point. It's got a really nice potion room over here that also goes below ground. And there's a minecart. Yeah, it might be that Alex the Noob is not meant to be a tutorial on anything useful, but instead a tutorial for what not to do. Like, why is there a giant duck under here? Or a cat, maybe? Yeah, that's a cat, right? With an udder? Anyway, this... Or maybe it's something else. But what's interesting is the fact that this entire world is maybe actually a guide on what not to do. Mini, what's food? What is this world? It really feels like we've accidentally the world was griefed before the world download came out, and no one noticed because no one at Microsoft does quality checks. No one in the team did the quality checks. Maybe this is just what happened. Maybe the world was beautiful before it got blown up and griefed by an 11-year-old. But obviously, it's possible I'm being far too harsh on this world, and that maybe when we go to the Nether, which is prominently right next to spawn, everything will make sense. So 2 big questions. Will the Nether have interesting builds? And perhaps more importantly, will the Nether be able to generate any new biomes? Or will it all be old Nether terrain? Let's find out. Okay, so old Nether terrain so far. There's a destroyed portal next to this one. And... Oh. Okay. All the videos I watched of the series look like they were... Okay, yeah, This is it. This is everything. This is the world. That's cool, I guess. Why did I pay money for this? Why am I not allowed a refund? I was gonna do a dramatic big review later like I did for the last world, but I think ultimately, like, quality of builds If I gave it a 3, I would be far too generous. So I think only a 2 is fair. Cohesiveness, give him credit, it's a 7 out of 10. It's all a connected, well put together mess in that way. Or it could be a 0 and I can't see what else there is here. But cohesiveness, it's all just as terribly poorly connected as everything else. So that's got to be at least a 7. There's no vision, but there's no vision oh, I'm trapped. There's no vision anywhere, kind of making it part of the vision. And then for inspiration, I don't know how to, I want to give a negative score here. But we'll suffice for a 0. I don't think there is anything here that could inspire you, which is a shame because I imagine that the point of having a series by someone called Noob is so that you could be inspired by someone who's maybe closer to your level. But this, if this is close to your level, then I still don't see anyone being inspired in any meaningful way. Why is there a horse under here? There's so many questions about this world, and I'll never get the answers. Sadly. If you want to know what's really sad, the SB737 world actually has like 100 times fewer downloads, maybe even more, based on the reviews, despite being a substantially better put together piece of content. And I guess the only real benefit of Alex the Noob's world is either if you love that series and it's like, oh, that was my favorite witch pen, and you love to see it, or if you want to have that emulating older versions, something you won't find with this next YouTuber's world. It's called Toycat's Let's Play World. I didn't know who this person is. I had to look him up. It's a fairly small YouTube channel that started out making Flash game videos before switching into Call of Duty, and now they seem to play Minecraft on what they apparently imaginatively are calling a Let's Play World. Great job there, buddy. It's an 8-year-old survival world, so it must have started in 2017 if this description is correct, and it was most recently updated in 1.20.1.40. So let's see what it has to offer, shall we? Welcome to my Let's Play world, created October 16th, 2012. So, I mean, that's someone who can't do any maths. And then there seems to be 2 chests. Just wanna explore. Although the speech marks feel like they're in there wrong. Shouldn't the left speech marks be... Anyway, it's just want to explore, and then food and compasses. So, kind of like the SB737 world, there's guide points on how to get places. And then we've also, as you can see right here, got ourselves some tools made from diamond. I mean, it seems like he's cheaping out on us there. And then we got some ender pearls and some fireworks too. Isn't that nice? Let's equip it all, shall we? Equip this at least. And let's see what's going on here. So this is by far the most tragic house I've ever seen. They've been playing since 2012, and they haven't found a better resource to use than nether brick, birchwood, and glass. But apparently, this is the decision they went with. And so let's go look inside at what's going on here. It's a little bit loud. It's a little bit bare. There's just an empty room. And, yep, they're still living in a cave after this many years. That's with a floating stone sword on the ground. That's something, I guess. There's a random half-finished sphere in the middle of the world with what seems to be a weird collection of builds with absolutely nothing tying them in together over here. Why is there a happy can over there? Why is the can merry or something? I don't understand. A merry can. Oh, he must be American. From the videos I watched, he did sound a little bit that way. The guy clearly seems to be terrible at storage. Hasn't seemed to work out how a chest works after all those years. I mean, you don't need to use this much space to store this many blocks, man. And it looks like he can neither build a bridge nor spell Minecraft. So, you know, as far as YouTubers go, above average intelligence, it seems. But it has to be said that, oh, look at this. Not even finishing the backside of a build. So as far as quality goes, this is gonna have to be a 2 out of 10. There aren't that many grand builds, and when there are grand builds, they just seem to be existing in random places. And that cohesiveness is something that really takes a hit too. There's all sorts of pathways that don't connect with each other. Some are made from gravel, some are made from stone, some are made from floating wood paths with odd rails on them. There's just a weird collection of non-cohesiveness across the world, so that's going to be a 1. And as far as inspiration, I've got to say, there's not a single thing in this world that I think I should add to my world. There's not a single thing here that I'd like to build, so that's going to be a -1 for inspiration. And so, yeah, this is, I mean, I've heard this map gets regular updates and that one is in the pipeline right now, and, you know, all of those will cost you nothing. But, you know, I wouldn't recommend it even then. You know, spend your money, on a McDonald's meal instead. I'm sure that's what he'd want. Anyway, with that said, let's move into the final world. Because ultimately, if you are looking for an old world, you don't really want one that looks like it's been griefed by, you know, your nephew. So what do you want instead? Well, actually, I reached out to one of my friends to ask him for his world download. And then he said no. But thankfully, I was able to download his world since it was publicly listed on the marketplace. I just had to give him about $6. Or actually, I had to give 4J Studios the money, who made this very cute marketplace listing, because I guess he works there now. And so this is Stampy's lovely world. This is the world that defined an entire generation of Minecrafters. I think it was slightly younger than me, but if you were 5 to like 14 about a decade ago, this is probably a world you have fond memories of. But genuinely, I maybe you find this interesting, I've never seen anything outside of the brief intros and the little bits that are featured here or there, and so I'm going to be exploring this world for the first time, and I'd better enjoy it, because, you know, it cost me $6. You know, think about how much McDonald's I could have bought with that, but, that's like a quarter of a lobster roll I gave up. But let's go over here, where you can see what looks to be a cake train. Oh, yeah, it reminds me a lot of the train on that one battle minigame map. But as you can see, the cake train is delightful on the inside, as it is on the outside. You can also see there's a rocket ship. I remember that was one of my funny, like, early conclusions, was like, oh, the reason I know this... Also, there's arrows everywhere. Interesting. But the reason I knew this world was because people would be continuously asking, how do you build a rocket that goes to the moon? I believe some clever video editing might have been done to convince people that was possible. This is the boat dealership. I have to... That's fun. Let's see. This is so charming by comparison. Some builds are mega and big and will screenshot very well, and some builds just ooze personality. And this one definitely feels like the latter. Oh, someone joined the game. But yeah, what's interesting about this world is the fact that I have no real sense of how to look for things, but there's this wonderful pathway that's guiding me around, from soggy sandwiches. I think that's a questionable game that some people like to play, all the way to big old ice cubes and oh, that's nice. I'm glad they enjoy watching my videos. They might be one of the small but not insignificant % of people who think that all British YouTubers are Stampy. And in that case, I'll say, you know, isn't that nice? Look at me. I'll put on some of Stampy's clothes, and then I can be a sheep in Stampy's armor, I guess. Stampy's style. This is terrible. You can't even read the boots because they're covering up the. You can't even read the sign because it's covering up the boots. Yeah, I like the vibe here a lot. It's an armor stand where every piece of armor is unique to be rainbow robes. There's also pumpkin munchin, and yeah, there's a lot of fun, silly things going on here. There's a shop, but no real attempt made to like have you pay. Oh, they've got currency to give you change if you needed it, and then we've got changing rooms back here. But you know, there's 5 changing rooms when they only sell 4 sets of clothes. What is the 5th changing room for? Yeah, there's no build around here that yells it's impressive in its own right, but there are builds that are entirely like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. Like, this is a recreation of the TU31 tutorial world. It looks like he's done it block for block here, which is really, really cool and impressive, I've got to say. You know, that is a real feat. Oh look, they even recreated the 4J love garden, but he doesn't love anybody, and so he's just put a bunch of roses up here instead. Very interesting decision. Oh, there's some redstone happening around here, and a giant house where every floor is made from a different color of stained glass. What a cool little oh, lovely ink. What a cool little skyscraper. There's also big things around here that are meant to be mini games. So this is Fortune Fountain. I think you're meant to play a game in here, maybe. Maybe? No. I do not understand how this game works. Whoa, this world goes recent. It goes all the way up to cherry trees. I remember Stampy quit YouTube like years ago in my mind, but apparently not so recently that he didn't enjoy the cherry trees. Oh yeah, I remember this boat from the tutorial world as well. There's a speedboat put next to it, which is kind of fun to see as a contrast. But then there's a windmill, then there's a sleep house, and then there's, oh my god, it just keeps going. There's so much happening here. A giant Rubik's Cube. That feels like it might be copyright infringement these days on the marketplace. There's a giant Never boat. There's mazes. There's mini games. Oh, this is so big. I had no idea just how much. Look at that, a giant tap coming out of nowhere. This world has so much going on with it. And it's cool to see it from this outsider perspective. And what's also cool is it isn't just a bunch of random things. There is like a proper pathway system connecting it. The pathway system does change a few times across the world, but it's consistent in that you don't have to get lost looking for the next build. If you are over here, you know that you are at the... Oh, it's a mini golf course. Oh, super hot. Super fun. I'm guessing it uses snowballs. That was a fun mechanic back in the day. But yeah, I love seeing a world that actually like ties in well together, and that all feels like every single one of these builds feels like you could make them in, say, an hour conceivably. And that means I love that creativity, because it means that every build is not just a testament of time. It's a testament of, like, energy, creativity, and a little bit more. Like, look at this tree right here with a minecart going up it. Every idea, you know, like, some of these ideas might be bad. Like, this is a static TV, or that weird test TV image that you get sometimes. I don't know if that's my favorite one, for example. But then you see, like, or like, icy, or whatever this thing is here. But then you get, at the same time, giant taps, and you get... I don't know what this is actually meant to be. You get little islands and ships, and honestly, I am really impressed by this. And so, I think that this might be the perfect example of what you're meant to do with a world that spans for many years. Because if you want to have a world that isn't just a bunch of individual projects cobbled together, you have to create some sense of theme. Yeah, I think that a world, as it goes on for long enough, really does need to pick up some sense of identity. And this world certainly has a ton of it, to say the least, right? There is a lot of identity and character in this world. Oh, so close. Did I do it in the par at least? Yeah, I did it within the par, we're fine. That having a sense of actual... Ooh, okay. Having a sense... Oh, okay, we're going to get around the dog, I'm going to guess. Like, that... Is that going to do... No, the dog got me. But having a sense of identity, having a sense of cohesion is really important. And I think this world shows more than any other why that is. Oh, no. Are we fine? We made it. Now we'll throw the other one. Hey, look at that. The par here was free, and I did it 1 under. That's a birdie, if I understand golf terminology. But no, more seriously... this is a very it's some piece of fun land. This is a very tight and small and, you know, like, I guess, like, limited world. But ultimately, that's kind of what makes it great. The fact that you can see it all from one extended view actually makes it something that is impressive in its own right. I think it's fine to have projects that are far-flung and that don't tie into the rest of your world when you feel like doing something else entirely. But having some connection point, or having at least a connection point between most of what's in your world, is something that's really valuable, and looking at something like this should be your biggest clue as to why that is. Okay, the time has come for the rating of Stampy's lovely world. And I've got to say, as far as the quality of builds go, I know I'm going to hurt a million YouTube viewers when I say this, I think that we can give this maybe a 7 at best, because ultimately there is no individual build that makes you go, wow, that must have taken forever, or whoa, that is grandiose in its own right. The biggest example is probably the clock tower, and honestly, I think that that is what really helps the cohesiveness of the world, because outside of the big statement pieces, as you might call it, outside of the few very big builds, ultimately everything else fits really well together because it's connected easily by paths, and it all feels like it's part of one grander attraction. For better or for worse, this world is perfectly cohesive, and the inspiration of this world is something I'm gonna also give like an 8 out of 10, quite high on the spectrum, because there are lots of individual ideas here that you're gonna look at and go, yeah, that's not for me. The giant Rubik's Cube might be something you love, it might not be, depends on who you are, I guess. But what is most interesting is the fact that there's so many individual fun ideas that some of them are going to land. Maybe you love the idea of the golf course, maybe you love the idea of a giant crocodile or a tap or an airport. The fact that those 4 things can exist in one world, though, is what makes this so delightful to look at. And so now I guess the only question to go into is which of these worlds is best value? Well, if we added up the scores all together, like I'll do right now for you, then you'd find that the total score for our first and last worlds were highest, with the middle 2 being consistent considered not that great to look at, but then you could see that if we consider it on a price level, you do have to spend slightly more to get one more point out of 30, but ultimately, I think when it comes to valuing YouTubers' worlds, you're either going to have the connection where it's worth spending money to get the nostalgia, or you're not going to. Are these worlds worth buying if you're not necessarily into the YouTuber in any real way? Because I would describe myself as that being true for all 4 of these guys. Ultimately, I would say probably not. It's a really fun blueprint on how to build a world that clearly has lasted in all of these cases, besides Alex the Noob, which clearly didn't last. I would say that it's a fun blueprint on how to make a world that is worth playing for a while, but everything else definitely leads me towards the conclusion that you might be better off continuing to watch it parasocially, unless you really want to get in there yourself, in which case, sure, go at it. There's a bunch of maps available, including that one from Toycat that is apparently getting an update. But let's see if he's correct about that. Anyway, with that said, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it interesting, and let me know if you'd like me to do this again, but perhaps with other YouTubers who don't have public downloads for their worlds. I think that could be fun. And yeah, until next time, I'll see you around. Goodbye. I mean, I won't see you around. You decide when you see me. That's the way that the internet works. So I'll see you when you see me. Goodbye.